I mean, Bitcoin from inception has grown at 145% compound annually, and it's got a lower Sharpe ratio than any other asset out. I mean, this is an amazing beast. It really is. And so I, look, but it's volatile, and to some it's scary, and I get all of that. But, I've long contended that anybody who has zero of this is really, really missing the most asymmetric bet that I've ever seen in 40 plus years of trying to make asymmetric bets. To me, it's absolutely an essential you must have. How much of it you want to have, how much, et cetera. Okay, that's up for debate. I get that. People don't like the volatility. The volatility, by the way, though, it'll go down as time goes by and it gets more widely distributed.
Today we have Larry Lepard giving his Bitcoin price prediction as the US dollar comes to an end. In light of the Bitcoin ETF that investors are eagerly anticipating, we've recently seen a $2,000 increase just in the past 5 days, and Lepard believes this is only the beginning. He discusses that as people become more aware of the dollar's depreciation, they'll gravitate toward assets like Bitcoin, not only because of its store of value, but its scarcity and limited supply of 21 million coins. Lepard says this will be central to Bitcoin's long-term price increase, and while he acknowledges that Bitcoin's journey will be volatile, its success is a certainty. He predicts Bitcoin will hit $100,000, and because of the ETF and institutional adoption, it makes a clear path to 10 million per coin. Governments have attempted to slow down Bitcoin's progress by making it more difficult to enter and exit crypto markets. But despite these challenges, Lepard believes this actually demonstrates Bitcoin's lasting presence and solidifies its position as the currency of the future. Let's get right into the interview with Larry Lepard as he gives his Bitcoin price prediction. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel.
I recall quite clearly in that time frame that gold started moving in the 2019 time frame, and Bitcoin didn't start moving until the 2020 time frame. Now, having said that, when Bitcoin did move, it moved with great authority, and it absolutely crushed the returns on gold. And as you know, and as you and I have discussed, I believe Bitcoin is the faster horse and a better long-term hold, but it's not for everybody because not everybody can tolerate the volatility. I mean, I have clients in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they don't want to have 70% drawdowns. And therefore, I manage a fund that's both gold and silver and Bitcoin. But the point is that Bitcoin, will get there and it will move, and it'll move hard. But it tends to sometimes lag gold, or at least on the last couple of cycles. That's what I've observed. As you also know, I'm sure you'll point out the ETF approval is a really big deal. I mean, notice how much it bounced just on the rumor. Mm-hmm. I mean, the ETF approval will bring a lot of money into Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor does an excellent job of making the point that it's very rare that you see an opportunity like this where there's a lot of money that's going to come buy an asset, but it can't buy it today because, in fact, I was just talking to a very, very wealthy individual earlier today. And I said, have you bought Bitcoin? He goes, no, I know I should, and I really want to, but I don't want to get a Trezor. I don't want to do cold storage. I don't trust myself to manage the keys. I don't want to put it on an exchange. I'm just waiting for the ETF. And you know what? I think there are a lot of people who fall into that bucket. So yeah. So that's where kind of Bitcoin is. As everybody knows, or most people who've listened to me know, I love them both. Okay, gold is analog sound money, proven, 5,000 years old, and it was the best form of money that existed in the world until Bitcoin came along, and it is still less volatile than Bitcoin. And for some people, that's a real advantage. They don't want to ride the up and down cycles within Bitcoin. If you look at the actual characteristics of Bitcoin as money, and it is being adopted as money, in my opinion, it beats gold on just about every front. It's easier to store, it's easier to transfer, it's easier to verify, it's more easy, it's easier to divide, etc. And so I think when the people who set up the Bitcoin network, and I do think Satoshi was a group of people who then decided to go silent. I think I've met a few of them actually, but
wow, well, that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, we talk about that. When the Bitcoin network got developed, something important was developed, and sadly, a lot of gold people think, oh, all this crypto stuff is, and you know what? They're right. All crypto stuff is, except Bitcoin, because what Bitcoin did, what that system does and did, is we created legitimate, provable digital scarcity. And before that time, that had never existed. So this is an invention. It's like when the Wright brothers created an airplane, they created a device that would allow human beings to go up in the air and travel. And, from the Wright brothers to, the Concorde, was a bunch of years, but it was amazing the developments that took place. And you might ask, well, why does digital scarcity matter? Digital scarcity matters because the most important characteristic of sound money is that it's scarce. And until Bitcoin came along, gold was the element in the universe that was most scarce. The supply only grew at 1.5% a year. It was verifiable. I mean, admittedly, you had to sometimes X-ray it so that it didn't have tungsten inside it, and had problems in verifying its purity. But suffice it to say, there was no other element like gold, and that's why 6,000 years of evolution, it became kind of the preeminent form of money. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is really just digital gold with better characteristics. Now, it's not as widely distributed, it's not fully adopted, and there are two, as I say before, to add credibility to the case, there are two weaknesses or two risks, and even as big a Bitcoin advocate as Lynn will agree to these, and she writes about it in her book. There's the technical risk that in some way the network breaks or fails. I think based on who the core developers are, based on the fact that it's been working for 15 years, based on the technology involved and so on and so forth, I think that risk has gotten to be very small. It was much larger before the block wars, before the hard forks. In the early days, there were some backdoor problems, etc. But I think 15 years in, the network is pretty damn robust and the risk of technical failure is low. Although that's why I've often said, Greg Foss says, hey, Bitcoin is a CDS on the dollar. And I'm like, that's right. But gold is a CDS on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin fails, you want to have gold. I think the other risk to Bitcoin is that people just lose interest and it fades away. I mean, money is really what we all agree is the most liquid good. And money has always been a ledger, and Bitcoin is a ledger. And, if for some reason people lost interest in it and stopped using it and didn't appreciate the qualities that it had, then, okay, well, it would kind of fade away.
The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. Comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment, with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs. He also suggests that BlackRock, under the guidance of Larry Fink, will lead the charge in obtaining regulatory approval for a Bitcoin ETF. This move, he contends, will underscore Bitcoin's enduring relevance as an asset and its potential as a hedge against currency devaluation.
There's two other kind of knocks on it. One is that the governments are all going to outlaw it, or two, that if we lose electricity and the internet, it doesn't work. Well, if that's the case, we're back in the Stone Age, and I don't think the world is going to that place, and I don't think governments can stop it because it's really kind of robust in terms of its ability to thwart government attempts at grabbing and controlling it. So. But has it been in people's minds? Is it a safe haven? Well, in Bitcoiners' minds, it is. I mean, I think it's one of the safest assets out there. And it's also a lot easier to move and store. I mean,
right.
Try to take $1 billion worth of gold from point A to point B. That's not easy. You need a jet.
Yeah.
With 12 words, you can hop on an airplane and go to any place in the world, and reestablish your Bitcoin wallet, and you've got your wealth. So, by the way, a lot of people in China were doing that in the early days of Bitcoin. It was being used for that because they had capital controls and they couldn't get out. So it's extremely portable wealth. Obviously, if you were in Germany in the 30s and you wanted to get out, having gold coins was really good because you could bribe the border guards or whatever, or use it for your travel expenses. And I still say that. I think gold coins are very useful because there'll be people who probably won't accept Bitcoin when you got to pay bribes. But, at the end of the day, I think Bitcoin is the superior form will become the superior form of wealth. I also think, both of these assets are going to increase in value significantly as paper money, fiat money gets debased and destroyed. But you've got, as Paul Tudor Jones says, Bitcoin's the fastest horse in the race. The reason for that is that it's got two things going on. It's got one, paper money is being destroyed. That's going to make gold go up, because it's traditional money. That's going to make Bitcoin go up. But two, it's got an adoption curve. And so we're just kind of past the Gladwell tipping point where, 10+% maybe of the developed world is, owns Bitcoin. And we've all seen those adoption curves, cell phones, radios, TVs, whatever it might be, any new innovation, it kind of tends to take the amount of time it took to get to the 10% is the amount of time it takes to get to 90%. So I think in the next 15 years, Bitcoin is very likely to become the soundest reserve asset in the world. And if that's the case, and there are 8 billion people in the world, there are 21 million coins, I mean, the price per coin has got to go up a lot. One other thing I will say about Bitcoin that I think people don't understand, and this is part of the innovation that's really important. Think about Bitcoin's a commodity, right? The SEC said it's a commodity. It is a commodity. One coin's the same as the next. Okay, fine. Every commodity in the world, if you increase its price, the supply goes up. If gold went to 10,000 tomorrow, we'd mine more gold. If corn went up, if oil went to $300 a barrel, we'd drill for more oil. You would get more, higher price, you would get more. No matter where the price of Bitcoin goes, the issuance schedule is set. There's not going to be any more. It comes out, every block is, 6.25 coins right now, soon to be half of that. So, that's unique. And I, as a result of that, the world has never seen anything that really kind of looks like this, which is why, Ronnie Stofferle had a great chart on it. Showed, Bitcoin from inception has grown at 145% compound annually, and it's got a lower Sharpe ratio than any other asset. This is an amazing beast. It really is. And so look, but it's volatile, and to some it's scary, and I get all of that. But, I've long contended that anybody who has zero of this is really, really missing the most asymmetric bet that I've ever seen in 40 plus years of trying to make asymmetric bets.
Right.
So, to me, it's absolutely an essential you must have. How much of it you want to have, how much, et cetera. Okay. That's up for debate. I get that. People don't like the volatility. The volatility, by the way, though, it'll go down as time goes by and it gets more widely distributed.
Larry Lepard may have a bold price prediction of $100,000 and then on to $1 million, but he's not the only one that shares this sentiment. Michael Saylor, Max Kaiser, and Cathie Wood all predict Bitcoin's price going from 6 figures next year and then on to hit 7 figures within the next 5 years. The halving is a key milestone for Bitcoin, as its price has historically multiplied times 10 every 4 years. We'll be keeping an eye on Bitcoin's price in the coming months, as 2024 is right around the corner. What do you think about Larry Lepard's price prediction for Bitcoin and where crypto is headed in the last part of the year? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.